Yeah, you know what time it is. It's Tuesday night. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for Shooting the Shit Uncensored. And as always, it's me, that dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight I have a very special guest. I'm really looking forward to having on Mr. Marcius Pitt from EPW, baby. But before we bring out our guest of this evening, let's take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause to thank those fucking sponsors and help us keep these lights on going up on this bitch every single week. First up is healthvape.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Health Vape is your healthy vaping alternative. All you filthy cigarette smokers, all of you filthy vapors, you need to go and check out Health Vape. They are your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products have no nicotine. They have no harmful or addictive chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost that you need, and they're vitamin infused. So, guys, please go to healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, I got to talk about sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, sleefs.com. Now, Sleefs is your one-stop shop for all your athletic wear. That's right. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks, headbands, boots, and mouth guards, and those dirty boxes that you always hear me raving about, guys. These dirty boxes are the most comfortable boxes that you will find. They stay fresh, they stay dry, and they've got funky designs on the front of them and all over them with some of them that are going to keep your partner giggling and smiling when the belt buckle comes undone at the end of the day. But guys, check out Sleeves, check out those dirty boxes. Use that promo code MWAPOD for a 10% discount. Woo! Now we got that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get on with the show. My guest, without further ado, the one and only Mr. Marcius Pitt. Boom, and we're live. What's going on, brother? Thanks for coming on the show.
Dude, I'm just going to start. I'm going to start and say that was unreal. Like the opening, the entrance, everything. I was just like, I felt a part of it already. Like I'm sitting here waiting to be brought on by you. And I'm just like, no, this is great. This is great. I get to watch the intro. I get to see you do your thing. It was fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to pass that feedback on to you, brother.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it, dude. But I'm really excited to have you on, man. You know, Damian Slater put us in contact, bro, and you know, I started having a look into your bio, man, and I think you and I are very similar in a lot of ways. We have children roughly around the same age, bro. And talking to you in the back, man, you definitely seem like a very laid back sort of guy. You know, for you, like, you know, how do you find the time, bro? Because I looked at your Instagram, bro. Like, you're in good shape, bro. Like, you keep yourself fit. You wrestle. You're a dad, bro. How do you do it? By keeping your diet on track, your training on track, your wrestling on track, and your whole dude. Like, this is like, you're like Superman, bro. How do you pull it off?
I'll tell you why I'm like Superman. I still feel like the Justice League, right? Superman, Batman, you know, all those fellas, they were successful because of Wonder Woman. So Marcius Pitt definitely has his own Wonder Woman. I'm not going to lie. There'd be absolutely no way that I would be in the shape that I'm in now, and I wouldn't be able to manage and juggle the things that I do in my everyday life without my wife. She is incredible, brother. And I will honestly say, like, she's an absolute gem to the point where she does my meal prepping for me at the beginning of the week. She just allows me my time to go to the gym, because she knows how important it is for me, not just from a physical standpoint, but a mental point of view as well. So yeah, dude, like, I got to give props to my wife. She's certainly the reason why I look as good as I do, and why I can get the things done that I can get done.
That's it, man. Like the mums are the unsung heroes, bro, out there.
Right.
Like the same way with my wife, bro. Like she's, like my wife went away for 3 days, bro. Like over this past weekend with her friends and left me with the 3 kids. And
Yeah,
bro, like when she came back, I had a newfound appreciation for what she does
dude.
on a daily basis, bro. Like it's crazy, man.
100%. So currently, like I mentioned to you, the little man, like our second child, my son, he's only 6 months old. So I feel exactly what you're saying right now, because my wife's been on maternity leave maybe for the last 7 months already so far. And today and yesterday, she did a couple of contact days with her work, and I was left with the kids as well. Even though my daughter attended kindy both Monday and the Tuesday, but shit, man, like I just appreciate her so much more when I'm fully in her boat. Just the things she can juggle, like she can just do six
Yeah,
things
it's
at the
amazing.
one time. I'm just like, fuck, like I'm struggling to just clean the dishes and then like sort the boy out who's now crying, and I'm just fucking losing my mind. Where my wife's like juggling my daughter and like tending to my son and cooking dinner and cleaning dishes at the same time, and I'm just like, fucking hell, man. She's certainly an unsung hero, that's for sure.
Oh, dude, absolutely, man. But yeah, as far as like the wrestling side of things, bro, how does that keep like how busy does the wrestling keep you? Like, are you wrestling every weekend? Is it like are you wrestling once a month? But like, I assume you're training quite regularly.
Yeah, so look, I'm training in the gym 6 days a week, in regards to like resistance training, but I'm typically training like once a week at
Sure.
the wrestling facility here at the EPW School of Pro Wrestling. Usually on a Wednesday night with myself and D Slats, who usually take the intermediate advanced class. So yeah, like, that's pretty much my fix for wrestling for the week. Because as most people know, especially these days, I'm very much just a weekend warrior. So I'm typically only really doing EPW's main shows these days. So that's usually the shows that we were holding at like a gate one. Whereas now we've
Yeah.
just transitioned out of gate one, and we're currently have I guess like a temporary home in Frio Social. Again, would be great if we could make Frio Social a full time venue. It's a fantastic setup, and it brings about that like current pro wrestling feel that I think like most promotions are trying to go for. So yeah, man, like I'm very much just a weekend
Yeah.
warrior, brother. Like wrestling once a month, and training once a week, sort of thing. I think especially like after I've been in the game for 17 years this year. Fucking hell, man, man. Yeah, 17 years this year. So yeah, like I'm not going
Long
down
time.
to training like 3 to 4 times a week. It's just I don't think it's something that I need to do at this stage in my career. I'm also now looking to go down to the EPW
Yeah.
School of Pro Wrestling and give back to the industry that I've loved for so many years.
Dude, 17 years like wrestling, bro, is a long fucking time. How does the body feel like on a regular basis, man? Like it must be like, are you in a world of pain on day to day, or are you not too bad?
Thankfully, like I've been really like crafty and clever. I think with the way I've gone about my wrestling career. Look, I'm not like a high risk wrestler. I'm not doing like moves that are like putting my body in jeopardy to a great degree from a match to match perspective. So yeah, I've got a bit of a style that's like pretty well grounded. You know, like I'm pretty well known for my suplexes and stuff like that, and I'm quite a brawler and stuff. So I'm not really doing anything that's too detrimental on my body. In saying that, I've never been one to shy away from stupid bumps and taking like real risky sort of like maneuvers and doing stupid spots and stuff. Like at the end of the day, if it makes sense and it means something to the match, then sure, like I'll go down that route. But to be honest, brother, like I've been pretty lucky. I've always sort of like had to deal with a little bit of like a lower back issue that I've just sort of had to maintain and manage for the last several years. But I think that's obviously come about and stemmed from my training in the gym also. So I certainly can't blame pro wrestling fully on that one. But yeah, it's obviously, you know, the concoction of both certainly doesn't help, but I'm very methodical and I'm very OCD and obsessive with the way that I tackle my like training and obviously my nutrition and again the way I go about my pro wrestling. So.
And you know, you mentioned, you know, like how you wrestle now, and like obviously you never shied away from doing some crazy spots, and yeah, if it made sense to do so. But do you feel like now, like because you have the experience, you can sort of like sit there and go, okay, yeah, it made sense. Whereas like years ago, you'd go, yeah, no worries, I could jump off that fucking thing and go through the table. That's no problem.
100%, brother. And look, it's just, you know, like for me personally, it's just like, you know, at that stage, it was like, fuck, how do I get noticed? Like, how do I garner the respect of my peers, especially in like a short time? You know, like back then, I guess back then I was fuck. I mean, a couple of years in, and it was just kind of like, you know, how can I make my way up the card? How can I impress the people who are booking EPW? How can I show value to the company? I guess, yeah. That was kind of like my way of showing that I was willing to do anything and everything to give to EPW and to earn my spot and to ideally be bumped up the card even further. So.
But you know, like as far as like, you know, when you first started breaking in, like for you, like how did you perceive the business like coming in? Were you like ultimate fanboy, like young guy, like coming in blinders on, or did you kind
Yes.
of have like a bit of an understanding on how the business was?
None, bro. Honestly, like I was just I was a fresh piece of meat, I suppose. Like the wrestling industry certainly, the wrestling industry certainly molded me. Because I had no idea, man. Like I had no inside look as to how the business worked. I mean, back then, brother, in like 2006, pro wrestling, especially in Perth, man, it was secret squirrel. Like no one had a
Yeah.
fucking clue about like EPW back in Perth. You had to like know someone, or you had to be that invested in pro wrestling that you were like actively seeking it out. So I think it was like I'd sort of I'd kind of like talked a couple of my mates from high school into like wanting to start like a bit of a backyard promotion, and I was gung ho, man, like organizing, you know, like the staging equipment and like a whole rig setup and like trying to like build a ring, and I was doing all this stuff and I was putting hours and hours and hours and effort into it, and a couple of the lads were like, dude, this just isn't our thing. And one of the guys was such a huge wrestling fan as well. He was kind of like, you know, have you heard about EPW? And I had heard the name floated around, and they were like, look, you seem pretty serious about this. Like, maybe forget about the backyard stuff. You've always talked about pro wrestling and stuff. Why don't you give it a crack? So he sort of like pushed me down that pathway, but it wasn't as simple, man, as like sending an email and then ideally getting involved, brother. Like, I remember sending the email and fuck, man, I heard nothing for like 10 months. I sent the email and then like we'd like, you know, dad'd like take us to like the WWE shows over here in Perth, and like you'd catch wind of like EPW like handing out flyers, like trying to like promote their local shows and stuff. And I'd go up to these guys, and this, you know, at the time, this like 18-year-old turning 19, and the like, you know, back then, man, like pro wrestling was a fucking slog. Like, you know, like in the PC world that we live in now, the shit back then just wouldn't fly these days. So back then, they were kind of like, who the fuck is this kid? Why is he hanging off us? Like, and I was just standing there, man, like just asking questions. I've emailed this and I've tried to do that, and like, you know, like, do you think they'll get back to me? And like, well, what are the chances of this and that? You know, like 100 miles a minute. And these guys are just like, man, fuck off. So all I was trying to do, brother, was then at that stage, just try and be seen by EPW by like sitting in the crowd, forcing my dad and my little brother to sit like ringside so that they'd see my face and they knew that I was keen to get involved. Like, and yeah, man, eventually, like, you know, they ended up, reaching out to me and saying, look, we have a tryout coming up. You know, here's all the information that you require to apply to attend. So yeah, dude, I was just hustling, dude, because like, as I said, like back then, pro wrestling was just fucking secret screw, man. Like it just wasn't talked about. You had to like seek it out yourself. No one was going to help you know, get involved.
Yeah. No, 100%, dude. And, you know, like even, you know, back then you said, you know, in a very non-PC world, you know, you going into that tryout, bro, like, I can imagine back then it would be very much the old school mentality, like, hey, let's try and fucking break this kid. Did you get that mentality going in there, or was it like a different feeling once you walked in there for the tryout?
But it was that mentality. So very, very thankfully, I was like a pretty sporty kid and stuff at school. Like, you know how like, you know, with your levers classes and shit, like you always got the nicknames and stuff on the back of your like levers jumper. So my nickname on the back of my levers jumper was the Hulk, because I was literally like the only, like, I would say from about year 10, I was the only guy that was like actively lifting weights and stuff at school. It just wasn't a thing. Like guys back then just weren't interested in lifting weights, and that's all I did in like year 10, year 11, year 12. Like the school I went to had like a gymnasium you could attend it at like recess and lunch, and fuck, man, that's all I did. Like I was just like, yeah, peace, see you guys. Like you guys go and do your thing, I'm going to the gym. So I'd like train in there and train in there and train in there. So thankfully, like I was in good shape. Like I remember going in, and I think I remember like David Storm saying to me like years later, he was like, fuck, man, we knew you were going to get through what we were going to throw at you. You were like the only guy that came along in shape. And at that stage as well, like, you know, just because it kind of wasn't a thing, like I was in better shape than half the EPW roster going into the tryout, just because, you know, I was just obsessed with lifting weights. But yeah, man, those 2 days, still to this day, I think about it and I'm like, genuinely two of the hardest fucking days of my entire life. I've never experienced anything else like it. From a point of people just throwing shit at you and just doing everything in their power to make you quit.
I think that's always what the old school mentality of the business used to be, because it was so protected. So, you know what I mean? Like if people wanted to really get into it, they have to go through that punishment. But, you know, even, you know, you were saying it's the hardest 2 days you ever did of your life and you were physically fit. Imagine the people going in there that are just had no idea about what the cardio and what the fitness level of pro wrestling is, and just jumping off the couch and walking into a tryout. That would have been like hell for them for 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, at least you were sort of had the upper step in that degree because you were physically fit going in.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like there were 19 of us that started on day one. By the end of day two, 2 people were left standing, myself and another guy. 2 people. That was it. That was it.
Jeez, man, it's you know what you hear those stories from like wrestling gyms, like from years ago, from around the world, bro. And it's like you know what I get it, man, because like you can't blow up in the ring. If you start blowing up in the ring, you know what I mean, you're not going to be able to hold someone a certain way or move them a certain way in the ring, and you know they're the ones that are going to end up getting hurt, bro. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean, like that's going to be on that person's conscience if you know they put someone in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives because they weren't fit enough for the business.
Absolutely, brother. Like, pro wrestling is such a it's a team sport. No matter what anybody wants to sort of like, however they look at it. Like, yeah, it looks like a very individual like sport. Like you're the pro wrestler, so this is your character. This is your like this is your character. This is your look. This is what you're trying to portray in the ring. This is the way you're acting. This is the attitude you're going to carry. Like, it seems so individualistic, but fuck, man, pro wrestling is such a team sport. Like, everything we do, everything in the ring that we do has an element of teamwork to it. So, as you said, man, like, it's, yeah, it's pro wrestling is such like
Yeah.
for mine as a team sport. And if you're, like you're saying, if you're getting blown up and if you're in a position where you're now not able to wrestle to the level expected, to the level expected that you try, your priority is to keep your opponent safe. If you can't do that, then fuck, man, you do not belong in a pro wrestling ring. It's as simple as that.
100%. I completely agree with you, dude. And you know, even then, like you know, what I mean, if you're going to be a weekend warrior, have some level of fitness going in there, or you know, work to your capabilities and don't try and go above that. You know what I mean? Like, I think every person you know knows what they can and can't do, no matter if it's pro wrestling or any sort of physical activity. Like, you know personally what your body can do before you do it.
Oh, 100%, bro. I couldn't agree more. And like, like being a weekend warrior has fucking nothing to do with that either. Like you're saying, like, I mean, it's funny now. I think I'm the
No.
best version of myself. I think I'm the best professional wrestler that I have ever been in my 17 years now that I'm a weekend warrior, now that I'm like no longer chasing the dream. Because, fuck, man, even though it's like, pro wrestling's now my Sunday footy team, I still strive to be the fucking absolute best, not just in the country, but, like, I like to believe like I'm a world recognized professional wrestler. And to have that type of like exposure, and to have sort of like, if that's how I'm being like uh like if that's how I'm being viewed by others, then fuck, man, my pro wrestling like inside the ring needs to be like world class at all times. Doesn't matter if I'm wrestling 5 times a week or once a month. Like, it just that yeah, it doesn't matter at all.
I think, and I think that that's someone like you're someone who takes pride in their craft, though. You know what I mean? Like, how many other people out there, you know, do you see that like don't take such pride in their craft, but they're like, ah, yeah, time to roll down and do my monthly wrestling thing. You know,
Dude.
is that still a thing there, or is most people now in the business like going, you know what, we want to carry this to a certain level?
Yeah, man. I like to think that people like myself and like Damian Slater, Mikey Broderick, Davis Storm, Mikey Nichols, like people like that who have a direct link, and a represent like, yeah, we represent explosive pro wrestling. So, like, at the end of the day, I want Explosive Pro Wrestling to be looked at as a world class wrestling promotion, not just fucking Australia wide, but like on the same level as the like biggest independents in the entire world. And that comes down to the talent. Like, and if that's how I'm being assessed from like a world perspective, then my pro wrestling game needs to be as good as it possibly could. And fuck, man, if I'm honest, like, if it if I didn't give a shit about that, like I wouldn't be down at wrestling training on a Wednesday night trying to give back to the promotion that's fucking done so much for me in my life and even my family's life, brother. Like, and that's why, like, I expect any individual who represents EPW to be like aiming for that world class level because they have world class trainers available to them. So my expectation is, as they're evolving and as they're learning and as they're progressing, that is the standard that they all set for themselves as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important, especially when you got such a brand like EPW, from very humble beginnings, like these guys, how their story started and to be still continuing today, and produce some of the most amazing talent that Australia's seen as well. Like it's, EPW is one of the standout promotions in the country, and no one can deny that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. Like, I certainly still fly the fucking EPW flag like as much as I can. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, dude. And like as far as wrestling now, you've mentioned EPW is what the home promotion where you mainly stay and wrestle. You train, but for yourself, man, like in your career as well. In 2011, you joined TMDK, the Mighty Don't Kneel. Which is probably one of Australia's most well known stables. Dude, how did that come to be for you? Joining that stable.
Well, Mike and Shane like to say that I deserved it at the time. Fuck, man, 2011. I was still like I was a bit of a whippersnapper. But if I'm honest, a little bit of like insider gossip. Mike and Shane were like two of my best friends, man. Like, to the degree that like on a weekly basis, like, they were coming to my place for like Sunday dinners, and my like wife was cooking up an absolute storm, and we'd be playing like Mario Party, and yeah, dude, like it was just our little tight knit group. So yeah, like they had always talked about it. And like, look, Mike and Shane, especially back then, they didn't. I don't think their inclusions into TMDK certainly weren't things that were discussed lightly. There was like always heavy discussion of like any members who were then going to become a part of TMDK. But they had always said, they were like, like we feel like we really want to bring you in as the first, our first ever recruit. Like we don't want TMDK to just be like a tag team. We want it to be, one of the most dominating like factions in pro wrestling. So it was, yeah, it was a big thing. I still put it down to the fact that, they were my two best mates, like as if they were gonna put someone else in TMDK before they fucking put me in TMDK. But like just even though they did do that, like at the time, like it was really starting. I was really starting to like get my bearings and stuff, especially in EPW. 2011 is the first time that I won the EPW championship, and things just started to like, things just started clicking, man. I really started like to understand pro wrestling from various different aspects that together started to culminate to me being more of like a complete package. And I think once like Mike and Shane sort of saw that and realized the direction I was going in, I think that's ultimately when they made their decision to induct me as the first member of TMDK, which was pretty fucking cool. So
to be honest, like the concept of it, like it sounds very similar to like Bullet Club, like building that way, but happening like years prior. You know what I mean? Like it's a really cool concept, and it's cool that it came out of Australia. And TMDK has gone international. You know what I mean? Like there was references made on NXT, WWE television. over in Japan as well.
Yeah.
But during your time with TMDK, you're actually tag team champions with Jonah Rock, aka
I
Bronson
was.
Reed.
Yeah.
How did you? Yeah, dude. How was that run, man? How was working with the big dude?
It was fun, man. Like Jonah's like one of my closest friends. He was actually one of the groomsmen in my wedding party, which was pretty cool. So yeah, like me and Jonah have like so much history together, and it was sort of at the time where like Mike and Shane had gone away, and like they were doing their own thing, and myself, Slater, and Jonah had become like really tight knit, and I was actually traveling regularly over to Adelaide to work for Wrestle Rampage. It was like 0-1 at the time. And yeah, like just myself, Jonah, Slater, like we just started to create this like really strong bond. And I always kind of wanted to like get involved in like tag team wrestling. It was something that I really hadn't done at the time. And I'd spoken to Jonah about it a number of times, particularly as a way to get Jonah booked regularly in EPW. Because like the first time, if my memory serves me correctly, the first time Jonah came over to EPW was with Sexton, now Duke Hudson, and they worked the Armstrongs, and fantastic match. Just it was brilliant. Like it was something that like EPW hadn't like. I didn't feel like they really like seen prior, and it was something that got me like really excited about tag team wrestling. So it was something that Jonah and I discussed a number of times. And fuck, man, I think me and Jonah had maybe like 3 or 4 shirt designs organized and ready to go before we'd even become a fucking tag team. But yeah, it worked beautifully because at the time I was again some more inside goss. At the time I was helping a book, and like my booking partner at the time was actually Nate Dooley. And I was pushing for Jonah and Slater to be like regular, regular attractions in EPW. And yeah, like they went for it and stuff. And thankfully, the whole thing with like me and Jonah got over really well. And it was a really great way. Like I had like, being a booker and stuff, I didn't want to go down that route where I was like fucking booking myself into main events and all that type of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think at the time it was time for EPW to build some like new main eventers. And so the idea was for me and Jonah to like drop down the card to more so work with the up and comers, and in particular, of course, the up and coming tag team division in EPW. So that was something that like I really cherished, man. It was something I loved doing. Like we were working regularly with the drop kicks, and we were working with McMassive a lot, and like we were working with like members of the Solution and stuff. It was just like a really cool up and coming tag team division at the time for EPW, and yeah, something that myself and Jonah got to head up, which was like really cool.
You mentioned having the shirt designs before you guys even had the tag team. I kind of feel like that's what like 2 pro wrestlers that get on the piss that are mates together would do. Oh, mate, let's start fucking designing tag team shirts, brother. Let's do it.
Dude, I think it was just like, fuck, man, I don't know if you remember, but like Sex Rock were just like the fucking thing. Like I loved Sex Rock. Fucking Sex Rock were the fucking best. And like when Sexton and Jonah started coming out with all those promos that they were doing online and stuff, I was just like, I've just not seen shit like this before. It's so creative, it's so fresh, it's so new. Like in particular, man, like I think it was like the Mortal Kombat promo that they released online, and my mind, dude, was just fucking blowing. I was like, this is phenomenal. I think from that is what spurred like a lot of like mine and Jonah's like thought processes and stuff going forward. I think, and funnily enough, like me and Jonah did like a Monsters shirt. There's like where like we were like super duper and enlarged, and we were like sort of like domineering over like a city and stuff, as if we were kind of like King Kong and Godzilla. It was fucking cool. So like now thinking about it, it's just funny that we had shirts like that made, and then we did like a Street Fighter choose your character where like Jonah was portrayed as Blanca and I was portrayed as Zangief. It was just fucking cool, man.
That's
just like
perfect.
super,
That's awesome.
super fun time. Yeah, really fun time.
But as far as like for you, when you first broke into the business, like were you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to the point of going, hey, it's WWE or bust? Like, was that like your be-all and end-goal? And like, how long were you in the business once you realized that there was like wrestling outside of WWE and ways to be a part of the business without necessarily going to that stage?
Sure. I think, fuck, man. Like, to be honest with you, I was so one-eyed WWE for the longest time, man. That was my fucking dream as like a 6-year-old kid. I wanted to be a WWE professional wrestler. That's all I ever wanted to be, brother. And I was fucking one-eyed about it. To the point where a couple of times, it actually cost me a couple of like tours with Noah, because instead of doing like the tours with Noah and stuff, I was like going more so down that path of how can I get WWE's eyes on me ASAP? Like I need a tryout. I need to work towards something here. So I think it was like I knew about like outside pro wrestling and I got exposed to the indie scene like really early on, which was kind of nice. And fuck, man, like I was saying, like I debuted in 2006 officially on an EPW card. I flew out to the US to do a SoCal, like a Southern California tour in 2008. So I was only 2 years in, and I went out and did the old 3-month stint. And that was something that was most certainly like that was I was exposed to that because of Mikey Nichols. Like Mike had gone over and done like a bunch of tours. He'd done all the stuff with the New Japan LA dojo. So he was training with guys like Fergal Devitt and TJ Perkins. Like Machine Gun, like the amount of talent that like Mike was over with at the time, and that's obviously when like Jag and David Storm went over as well. And those guys were, especially from us sitting back here, dude, they were fucking making waves, man. We were like, holy shit, how can we get involved in this? And I said to my parents, I was like, look, mum and dad, you want to buy me like something for my 21st birthday? Please just give me a fucking bunch of cash and like let me fly to America and do like a 3-month stint over there. And they were all for it, man. Like I was in the US for that first tour in 2008 before my 21st birthday. Like I remember missing out on a bunch of shows, brother, in the US because I was fucking underage. So like they'd leave me sitting at home.
They should have put you under the hood.
Dude, they had me sitting at fucking home in San Bernardino, California, while they all went out to these fucking epic shows, and here's me just like sitting there like, fuck, I can't be on this show because I'm underage. But yeah, man, like that's what really got me like exposed to like pro wrestling outside of WWE. Because I did a bunch of tours, man, 2008, 2009. I'm pretty sure I did one as well in 2012. And then it wasn't until like that's so, especially in like that 2011, 2012 period is when my career was starting to like really pick up. And that's when like Mike and Shane started talking to me about potential tours in Noah. But instead, and it was something that he was also focused on, but myself and Sexton, we actually decided, fuck it, like Japan's not for us. And we were just naive fucking kids, man. We were naive
young
kids.
20-something-year-olds.
We wanted that WWE glory. So we went straight to Booker T school to ROW in Houston, Texas. And it was a hell of a lot of fun, but it was a stupid fucking idea for myself to go to Texas in front of Booker T with a guy who was fucking 6'5" and 200 and something pounds. And it was like, look at this guy. Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Look at you. So Sexton became the fucking apple of Booker T's eye, I tell you what. So yeah, probably probably a stupid decision on my part, but it sure was a fucking fun time, man, and an eye opener. And like Booker T's learnings and teachings on that tour, man, like changed the way that I wrestled. Like I was such an Australian pro wrestler, brother, up until like that 2013 period. And that's when Booker T was like, motherfucker, slow down. And that's when I started understanding like and really paying attention to how, you know, pro wrestlers even in New Japan, even in like Ring of Honor, even in like, and of course WWE, like when I actually watched it and I actually like really like dialed into what these guys were doing, I was like, fuck, they don't move like spot to spot like the way we do. Like you think they do, but then when you kind of like get that insider like teachings and knowledge, and then it just clicks in your brain, you're like, fuck, no, they're not doing that at all. So yeah, sure, it was probably a stupid decision because I think I still to this day, and I still talk about it to like Slater and to like even to like Mike and Shane if it ever comes up in conversation and we're laughing about it. It's like I still think I would have done really well in Japan, but because I was so one-eyed WWE, that was the fucking path I was going, brother. Like that's where I wanted to get, and I did absolutely everything in my power to get there. So,
yeah, in hindsight, looking back, do you think like, you know, your character at the time, you know, your style of wrestling at the time, do you think it would have gotten over in Japan, big more than in the US than what it was, more than what it was getting over in the US at the time?
I think now looking at it, brother, like when I evaluate where my career was at that point in time, I don't think I would have gotten over particularly well in Japan or in the US. I just didn't. I hadn't. It's funny to think because I was only like 26 or whatever it was, but it was like I hadn't matured yet as a pro wrestler. And like I really matured as a pro wrestler, quite late on, but it kind of like lines up where everybody says the pro wrestling peak comes into it in those like really late 20s, like early 30s. Yeah, man, I don't feel like I peaked until like 2015. And if Marcius Pitt had gone to the US in 2015 or had gone to Japan in 2015, I most certainly feel like that I was a matured enough and an experienced enough pro wrestler that I could have adapted to either style and been very successful at both. But yeah, man, it just, I don't know. It's funny. Like when I think about it, it's like I was always there just before like the right time. Like it was never like after, it was always just before the right time. So.
And that's probably the most frustrating part. It's like, man, you're the best unsigned wrestler in the world. That's like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like that's the most backhanded compliments I think, you know, you can give someone in the business, you know. But yeah, doing multiple tours over to the US, man, like and traveling, how was it? Like obviously, like the first time being 20 years old, bro. Like I'm assuming this was pretty much the first time you left the country, right?
Yes.
So, like, how was the culture shock for you, bro, being over there for 3 months? I mean, you mentioned as well some shows you couldn't go to because you weren't of age. You know, for the past 2 years here in Australia, you'd probably be sinking piss every weekend with your mates, and now you go over there, it's like shit.
Yeah, dude, like it was. Look, like I must admit, it was a fucking cool experience. I was the baby of the group. But at the time, like the NWA were like heavily linked to Australia. Like Dave Marquez and stuff was like really trying to sort of like plant his seeds in Australia and like try and help the Australians get over and like actually do something in pro wrestling. So at the time, like when I went there in 2008, I actually stayed at what they had like called the NWA house. So it was myself. It was Frenchie, who ended up being he was in NXT. He got signed. Tom LaRuffa. So yeah, I was staying with him. Obviously, Mike was there. Mikey Nichols was there at the time as well, doing a tour. and another guy from Canada, Lee Coyle. So there was a bunch of us, and it was dude, talking like how you're saying, like the culture shock and stuff. There's no fucking way I would have been like, I wouldn't have survived over there without those guys, let alone fucking being able to do it by myself in 2008. There's no way. If guys like Tom and Mikey hadn't have been there, and even though, like, you know, again, in that era, that 2008 era, that very non-PC era, you know, it was hard. Like, it was fucking hard when I was over there. Like, I was the baby of the group. It was just like, yes, sir, no, sir, fucking, what do you need done, sir? It was a hell of a learning experience. I mean, I remember going back to EPW and they were like, wow, Marcius Pitt's like fucking like improved like to no end from where I was to where I was when I got back. It was hard, man. Like, I remember like sitting in my room sometimes fucking getting teary-eyed, like wanting, like crying into my fucking pillow thinking, fuck, why am I here? Like, why am I away from my loved ones? Why am I away from my mum and dad and my brother and sister? Like, why am I here? This is just fucking depressing. But the growth that I experienced as an individual, as a person, as a human being was phenomenal. Like, I was like swimming in some fucking deep waters over there, man. I was so far out of my element, but would I do it again? In a heartbeat. It was a phenomenal learning experience. It made me like grow, not just as a pro wrestler, but as a person. It just gave me like a real sense of independence. Like, I could tackle, you know, anything that like life threw at me.
Yeah, like, dude, I think like that sort of like trip, and I think like whenever you like people that young get the opportunity to travel overseas, and whether it be for whatever reason, it's the life experience that you get, and you come back, I think, a different person, a different understanding, because you sort of like learn the worldly things a little bit, like when you see a different country, and even like if it's another Western country like America, there's still certain things that it's like the experiences you don't have your support network so readily available, you know, as you would have when you're at home.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like talking about like culture.
But you know, you mentioned, you know, before, like being over there in a non-PC. Sorry.
No, you go, you go.
No, no, go on. Sorry, you just were delayed there. Continue, please.
Yeah, no, just like one of the funniest like culture shocks I think was fucking hilarious. Like walking into Subway, and I'm
No,
like,
I was just gonna say, like, you know, we talked about, you know, the non-PC world. Are you there?
yeah, man, yeah. So like, yeah, so as I was saying, like one of the like funniest like culture shocks in the US,
Hello.
like I walk into the into Subway, right? And I'm like, yeah, just like a foot long sub, blah blah blah, like this. Oh, can I get some green capsicum, please? What? Can I get some green capsicum, please? You mean peppers? No. Uh, yeah, just some that the green stuff there. Yeah, they're peppers. And I was like, okay, I apologize. They're peppers. Can I just have some of them on my fucking sub, please? And like, let's just move the conversation along. Move the conversation along. Like, yeah, it was so funny. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what's a pepper? Like, isn't it a capsicum? Like, it was funny.
But it's just a crazy world, man. That, you know, like the differences like between there and here is just nuts. But, you know, like as I was just mentioning just before, you know, being over there in a non-PC world, bro, at that time, yeah, what were some of the crazy experiences that you that you had over there?
Oh, dude, just like fuck, man. Like, I think just from a point of view, like, you know, not to throw him under the bus, I fucking love him and shit. But there were times, man. There were fucking times when
Yeah.
they would like block the staircase from me being able to come downstairs in the NWA house. And Frenchie was like, Marcus, 500 squats. 500 squats before we leave the house, or was you don't fucking get in that car and we leave for the show without you. I'm like, bro, no. And he's like, 500 fucking squats. There's no way you get down this house and out that door and into that car to the show we're going to. And then it would be like, and you know what? If you're not at the fucking show, the promoter's going to say, oh, where's that Marcius Pitt kid? Why isn't he at our show? He's no-showing our shows. He's an Australian. He's come over from Australia. He's coming here. He's trying to work the US Indies, and he's not fucking rocking up for his bookings. And I was like, Frenchie, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not going to do 500 squats now. Like, my legs will be so gassed. I'll be fucking useless in the match that I'm booked for anyway. But fuck, man, he was just like, and would count 1, 2, not deep enough, 2, not deep enough, 2, 3, 4, not deep enough, 4, not deep enough, 4, not deep enough, 5, 6. It's just like, fucking hell. So I was just that kid that they like picked on. Like, you know, they kind of like, you know, they were like bullying me or whatever and stuff. But would I go through those experiences again? Fucking hell yeah, brother. Like, I mean, I genuinely feel like every experience that I went through as a young up and comer, as a trainee, as a rookie, as like an intermediate pro wrestler, all of those experiences, man, have like made me like, I think, like, you know, blowing my own whistle, but made me the world-class fucking pro wrestler that I am today. So yeah, like non-PC, I was always okay with. Sometimes I look back at it and be like, oh, fuck, that was pretty rough, but I certainly wouldn't change anything about those times, man. They were all fond memories. Like, I look back at them now and I just think like, that's fucking mental, but they sure as shit like pushed me to be the absolute best version of myself, man.
Do you think the different generation now, like to how it is, you know, a very PC world as opposed to what it is back then, that, you know, performers are restricted, or do you feel like there's missing out in a certain degree, or do you think it's like, I don't want to say softer than what your generation was, but like, do you see is there a bit of a disconnect between the two generations?
Personally, I do think so. I'm all for progression in the world. I'm all for like everybody getting along. Like, I am the most down to earth, most welcoming. Like, I just fucking love everyone and everything. Like, as long as you're not a fucking piece of shit to me, you have all of my love and respect. Yeah. Like, you know, no matter what. I do feel, though, the way that I feel like we have to kind of tiptoe around things and stuff now, or, you know, you can't say this or you can't make them do that, because if they don't want to do that, well, then that's their choice. They're more than entitled to their choice. I think like back when I was coming up, brother, and it was just like, fucking do this or get the fuck out the door, because you clearly don't want to fucking be here. I just kind of feel like, yeah, like, to put it bluntly, this generation coming up now are a little bit softer than the generation that I'm a part of. We had to we had to go through the most insane amounts of fucking like shit to get anything in the business back then. Whereas now it's more readily available to any and all individuals, because you can't deny someone that opportunity. Like in a PC world, you can't not allow this person to do that just because they haven't done that prior. It's still their right to have access to the same opportunity as the person next to them, even though the person next to them has done this, and this to earn said opportunity. So yeah, I do. I think it has hurt the pro wrestling industry, especially from what I'm seeing. especially at times in Perth specifically. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just the world, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, sorry. I think it's just the world that we live in now, and yeah, it's just I guess it is what it is. Like, but yes, if you're asking my honest opinion, I do think it has made today's like up and comers a lot softer than the generation that I was a part of.
Do you feel, the business of professional wrestling and being a heel, is to be able to antagonize a crowd? Do you find like heels in 2022, there's not many heels around that are prepared to go that extra mile or that, cross that line with the audience? Because I kind of feel like wrestling nowadays, it's, heels aren't trying to get over by like antagonizing a crowd, maybe to a certain degree, but nothing like, insulting the crowd like it used to be to really sort of get that sort of cheap heat from them. Do you find it's harder for heels now to get that real strong heat?
I think, like, like personally, like currently, I am a heel, like, and I still go about being a heel in a very similar fashion to any time that I've approached being a heel over the last like 16 years, sort of thing, brother. But yeah, I think you just have to be a lot more clever. Like, I've never been one to be a heel and be like, fuck yeah, I'm going out there and I'm going to do this and I'm going to be Mr. Cool and hopefully they'll boo me. But I don't really care if they cheer me either. I if I am playing a heel, if my job is to be a heel, rather than like I am doing fucking everything in my power to ensure that that fucking crowd absolutely despises me. And like, I think I very much still like tippy toe that like line of, oh shit, is Marcus going like a little bit too far there or yada yada yada. But I don't know. I think I play it in a way that's still respectful enough, like
Yeah.
to like human beings in general. But I think if you're clever, I think if you're a good professional wrestler and if you're a fucking fantastic heel, you can still make it work in this day and age, homie. Like, yes, I know like the business has changed and it's evolved and it's a very, very different place to like work your craft in now. But if you're fucking good at what you do, and I think I am very good at what I do, and I think there is a fucking bunch of like world-class wrestlers out there who are unbelievable at what they do. I still see plenty of heels doing their thing, and I'm like, fuck yes. Like, they're just not being outwardly horrendous humans. They're just being very clever heels.
Mm. Yeah. I think that there's a way to be, like there's a way to get hated by a crowd without
Yeah.
insulting them. And, you can insult their intelligence by certain things. And, and a good heel can get heat just from, simple reactions, like, I remember hearing Booker T say the difference between when he was a heel and a baby face when he walked to the ring. When he was a baby face, he'd smile.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And another thing is like it's just the difference between a babyface and heel is just being able to change certain little aspects of your character and be able to keep the basis of your character and from baby to heel.
100%, man. Like, like, and another like part of myself, my persona as a heel, like, someone like my manager Amber in EPW, she is like vital, vital to my role as a heel, brother. And it's the way that I
Mm.
incorporate her into my matches and the way that we structure things. Like, it still works to an absolute fucking T. You just have to be clever and you just have to be able to like use the resources that you have, but to like their absolute maximum potential. It's just unfortunate. I find sometimes people just don't look outside the box anymore. It's too like, oh, well, this works for this person, so maybe I'll just try and do this. But now you're just doing a watered down version of what that guy did really well. Like, thinking outside the box, brother, especially in the era of pro wrestling that we're in now is fucking vital, man. Like, if you want those reactions, if you want to be able to like orchestrate your crowd and have them react the way that you want them to react, you have to be clever. You have to pay attention. You have to listen to what is going on. As a heel, man, I feel like I have the ability to like orchestrate my crowd exactly how I need to. And sure, there's like been crowds that I've come across and I've been like, fuck, like they're not fucking doing what I want them to do. What am I doing so wrong? And blah, blah, blah. And I get hard on myself and I'll watch the match back like post show and be like, fuck, maybe I should have tried this and tried that. I think that's when that aspect of self-evaluation comes back in, and it's like, fuck, what could have I done better there? You know, sometimes depending on the crowd, maybe there wasn't something that you could have done a little bit better. But I think if you really fucking think about it and you're thinking outside that box that so many pro wrestlers get stuck inside of, you'll find something. You'll find something like that's like unique and special, and the crowd haven't seen it before, and it happens, and they're like, "Wow, this fucking piece of shit." So yeah, I certainly think there's a way that you can still be the heel of days past. We just have to be a lot more clever in doing so.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And you know, for yourself now, like, you know, you made mention at the beginning of the hour, you know, that you're wrestling basically once a month. But you know, do you have any goals left in wrestling at the moment? Like, do you have anything that you want to achieve or tick off the bucket list?
Fuck, man, it's hard. I mean, you know, I'm still like, there's still plenty of like
Like,
big
whether it
time.
be a match or a,
Yeah. There's still plenty of like big matches and stuff that I'd like to have. Like I still think about it and stuff all the time. Like there was a couple of like little missed opportunities and stuff over the last few years, but I would have absolutely have loved to wrestle Osprey and Robbie Eagles. Um, them against myself and Slater as the Untouchables. I think that would have been a fucking cracking match. Same with Aussie Open. I'd love to give Kyle and Davis a bit of a run. I think there's still a lot of like tag team matches, brother, that I'd love to have. I think like Slater and I, as the Untouchables, still haven't like hit our like full potential. And I still think there's like so many matches out there that are like that are available to us that I think would get a lot of the wrestling industry super hyped and fucking excited about. It's just, yeah, man, we've just got to get that fucking train up and running once again, and hopefully that time will come eventually, and myself and Slats can, you know, like, yeah, tick off a couple of those like little fucking bucket list goals that I still have. I still feel like me and Slats haven't like reached our full potential in tag team wrestling, and I think that's an aspect that I'd probably still like to go down.
would you like, obviously being, you know, a father of two, being away from home isn't something you obviously too fond of, but you
Yeah.
know, traveling and going into state for wrestling, is that, you know, on the horizon for you? Is that something that you want to get back involved in doing and traveling, or are you just happy to, you know, stick with the EPW and try and make that the promotion in the country?
Dude, interstate wrestling is some of the funnest shit that I've done, man. Like, so I have so many fond memories of interstate wrestling. And if I'm honest with you, brother, like I had loads of bookings over that like COVID period. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
especially us being stuck in Perth and we had that hard border for such a long time, my bookings just get like, and flights and so on and so forth just kept getting cancelled and cancelled and cancelled and cancelled. So yeah, fucking hell. If any of the Australian wrestling bookers are listening, Marcus Pitt's certainly interested in fucking interstate wrestling still. It's always a fun little escape for the weekend and stuff to get away from the kids and the wife, just to, you know, do me and like still, you know, tick like, you know, just yeah, to still like ignite that fucking wrestling passion and fire that I have. Doing it in a different like environment is a really enticing thing still. So yeah, certainly interstate travel, man, is definitely still on the cards. So yeah, now that I'm out of the little fucking COVID bubble that was going on in Perth, I'm hoping to see that return once again, brother.
Well, there you go. Oh, man, it'd be good to see you in Sydney and at Melbourne as well. There's some great promotions going around and a lot of talent. EPW is definitely a home of some of the best talent in the country. I've said that multiple times before. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the show. It is time for 60 Seconds with Piers. Now, how this is going to work, if anyone who is a first-time listener, how 60 was I can't even speak. How 60 Seconds with Piers goes is I'm going to ask a bunch of random questions to my guest, Mr. Marcius Pitt. He has 60 seconds to answer as many as he can within that time. There's not a lot of hard questions here, but Marcus, are you ready to get the ball rolling?
Let's get it started, brother. Throw it to me.
Okay. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay, one has to go. Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
What is your go-to drink on a night out?
Coke, no sugar.
What is the worst gift you have ever given, ever received?
Fuck. Fuck. Pass. I don't know.
If you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Loud, obnoxious, and happy.
Which chore do you hate doing the most?
Ooh, cleaning my kid's shitty ass.
Roller coasters, love them or hate them?
Love him.
Which song do you know all the lyrics to and sing as loud and off key as possible any chance you get?
Backstreet's back, baby.
What movie do you know all the words to?
The Sandlot kids.
Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
7'7".
And last one, in 5 minutes, you are being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
My iPhone and my coffee machine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. But that has been 60 Seconds with Piers. Bro, iPhone and a coffee machine, bro. As long as I got my coffee and my phone with me, bro, everything is all good in the world. But Marcus, this hour has just flown by, bro. I definitely want to get you back on for a part 2 when we can. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. But where can everyone find you on social media? Buy some merch and support you that way as well.
Yeah, man. So I'm probably most active on my Instagram account, which is Marcus_Pitt. Or you can actually check me out training and stuff through my training, my coaching company, Progress-365 on Instagram or Facebook. So those are probably the 3 places you're going to find me the most regularly.
There you go, guys. Make sure you head over there. Give Marcus a follow over on Instagram. Definitely keep an eye out for part 2. We'll make sure that can try and happen hopefully in the next few weeks. But guys, also huge shout out to our sponsors, healthvape.com and sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get 10% discount on your final purchases. Guys, also check out some of the shows that we got going on. What's killing the business every single Friday, 10 a.m. Australian time, which is Thursday, 8 p.m. USA Eastern time, with former ECW original, the Kingpin and King Mega every single week. Also check out Knights of the Gimmick Table, hosted by the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo and Lowrider and Cade Lothbrock. Check out the NXT Roundup. Check out Shooting the Shit. Go over and check out Wrestling with Tragedy with myself, John Poz, and the Kingpin Angel over on the Vince Russo's brand every single week. You can find that on patreon.com/RussoTWC. But guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Marcus, thank you again for being a great guest. I really look forward to having you on again very, very soon, my friend.
much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Too easy, man. Thank you. Guys, all the best. Take care. We'll see you soon. Peace.